Hello and welcome. Thank you once again for joining me on the Katiba Reflections with me, Charles Nyachae. Today I want to reflect on the remaining part of Chapter 7 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, that is on representation of the people. You will, of course, recall that in our previous podcast, we looked at the principles of elections. We looked at the system of voting and what voting, the process is required constitutionally to comply with. So today we will essentially, in that second part of the chapter, we will look firstly at the role of the electoral management body, that is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, and we will also look at the constitutional provisions relating to political parties. So, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which is established in this chapter by Article 88, there is established the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. 88.2 provides that a person is not eligible for appointment as a member of the commission if the person A has at any time within the preceding 5 years held office or stood for election as 1, a member of parliament or of a county assembly, or 2, a member of the governing body of a political party. So if any person has either held office as a member of parliament or a member of the county assembly, or has been a member of a governing body of a political party in the 5 years preceding an appointment as a member of the IEBC, then that is outlawed by the Constitution, Article 88.2. Such person is ineligible. 88.2b also provides that a person is ineligible for appointment if they hold any state office. Sub-Article 3 provides a member of the commission shall not hold another public office. And 88.4 deals with the role of the commission. It provides that the commission is responsible for conducting or supervising referenda and elections to any elective body or office which is established under the Constitution, and any other elections as prescribed by an act of parliament. In particular, the responsibilities of the IEBC are the continuous registration of citizens as voters. Mark the word continuous there. B, the regular revision of the voters' roll. C, the delimitation of constituencies and wards. D, the regulation of the process by which voters nominate candidates for elections. E, the settlement of electoral disputes, including disputes relating to or arising from nominations, but excluding election petitions and dispute subsequent to the declaration of election results. Of course, those are determined by the courts. F, the registration of candidates for election. G, voter education. H, the facilitation of the observation, monitoring, and evaluation of elections. I, the regulation of the amount of money that may be spent by or on behalf of a candidate or party in respect of any election. J, the development of a code of conduct for candidates and parties contesting elections. And K, the monitoring of compliance with the legislation required by Article 82(1)(b) that relates to the nomination of candidates by parties. Now, in that list, I would want, because what we're doing here is reflecting on the Constitution, the letter, spirit of the Constitution, and considering evaluating the extent to which its implementation has served the purpose intended by those who wrote the Constitution on behalf of the people of Kenya. Now, in those responsibilities that are given to IEBC, I would want to direct or suggest further reflection on a couple of them. For example, the obligation on the Commission to provide for the continuous registration of citizens as voters. Of course, IEBC does conduct registration of citizens as voters, but I think we may want to consider whether this is actually done continuously as contemplated in 88(4)(a), the continuous nature of the process that is the Constitution requires. Let me also make a comment on the role that is also given to IEBC in number C, the delimitation of constituencies and wards. So the responsibility that is given to IEBC when it comes to reviewing electoral units is constituencies and wards. The Constitution does not appear to give any role to IEBC as regards the counties which are established in the Constitution. The other important point is that the issue of settlement of electoral disputes is really around the parties and before elections are conducted, because as I said a little earlier, where there are disputes arising from a declaration of election results, this is now becomes the work of the courts and not IEBC. So IEBC really, as the one that would have conducted the elections, becomes a party in any such proceedings. Now, the constitutional requirement that IEBC should provide voter education, I venture to suggest that this area possibly has not been given sufficient attention, at least in my view. Voter education has not been given the level of attention that I think the framers of the Constitution intended. And as as we reflect on the Constitution and its implementation, I think there is need to consider whether there should be more specific, the laws should be more specific maybe in terms of legislation of how, to what extent, and what are the budgetary implications of IBC providing sufficient voter education. There is, of course, pursuant to this chapter, there is legislation around the amount of money that those who run for office in elections may spend, or what may be spent on their behalf. This, I think, has been a major challenge and continues to be a challenge, notwithstanding the election campaign financing legislation. I think this is an area that requires also greater attention if we are to realize the general principles around elections that I referred to in the first part of chapter 7. Article 89 deals with delimitation of electoral units and provides 89.1, there shall be 290 constituencies for the purposes of the election of the members of the National Assembly, provided for in Article 97.1a. Article 97.1a is the one that provides when dealing with who shall be a members of Parliament, there shall be 290 members representing single-member constituencies, and that is really what is being stated here. And Sabbatical 2 goes on to state that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission shall review the names and boundaries of constituencies at intervals of not less than 8 years and not more than 12 years. But any review shall be completed at least 12 months before a general election of members of Parliament. The Commission shall review the number, names, and boundaries of each ward periodically. For if a general election is to be held within 12 months after the completion of a review by the Commission, the new boundaries shall not take effect for purposes of that election. So those new boundaries would then take effect at a subsequent election if done within 12 months of an impending election. Sabbatical 5, the boundaries of each constituency shall be such that the number of inhabitants in the constituency is, as nearly as possible, equal to the population quota, but the number of inhabitants of a constituency may be greater or lesser than the population quota in the manner specified in Clause 6, to take account of A, geographical features and urban centers, B, community of interest, historical, economic, and cultural ties, and C, means of communication. Sabbatical 6, the number of inhabitants of a constituency or ward may be greater or lesser than the population quota by a margin of not more than A, 40% for cities and sparsely populated areas, and B, 30% for the other areas. In reviewing constituency and ward boundaries, the Commission shall, 1, consult all interested parties, and secondly, progressively work towards ensuring that the number of inhabitants in each constituency and ward is as near as possible equal to the population quota. Now, this has been a subject of heated discussion and possibly even controversy in the past. The whole question of how closely in terms of representation per person do the constituencies address this, so that, for example, you will get obviously like in Nairobi, the constituencies which are of relatively small geographical areas are very heavily populated. And then you will find in parts of Kenya, especially near the northern part of Kenya, you will find constituencies which are huge in terms of landmass, but are not so heavily populated. And this is what 7B seeks to intend to try to achieve when it says that the Commission shall progressively work towards ensuring that the number of inhabitants in each constituency and ward is as nearly as possible equal to the population quota. Sub-Article 8, if necessary, the Commission shall alter the names and boundaries of constituencies and the number, names, and boundaries of wards. And there is provision for publishing in the Gazette. And of course, the High Court has jurisdiction to review the decisions of the Commission in this regard. Article 90 of the Chapter 7 deals with allocation of party list seats. This is for purposes of nomination to the electoral body. 90 Sub-Article 1, elections for the seats in Parliament provided for under Articles 97(1)(c) and 91(b), (c), and D. Those are the ones that deal with nomination to the Houses of Parliament. And for the members of county assemblies under Article 177(1)(b) and (c) shall be on the basis of proportional representation by use of party lists. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission shall be responsible for the conduct and supervision of elections for seats provided for under Clause 1, and shall ensure that each political party participating in the general election nominates and submits a list of all the persons who would stand elected if the party were to be entitled to all the seats provided for under Clause 1 within the time prescribed by national legislation. B, except in the case of the seats provided for under Article 98(1)(b), each party list consists the appropriate number of qualified candidates and alternates between male and female candidates in the priority in which they are listed. Now, the exception there, 98(1)(b), relates to nominations to the Senate. And of course, those nominations, because it is one of the provisions in the Constitution, which is affirmative action, those nominations under 98(1)(b) are all members of the female gender, and that is why this provision relating to alternates between male and female candidates in the priority in which they are listed would not be applicable. Number C, except in the case of county assembly seats, each party list reflects the regional and ethnic diversity of the people of Kenya. The sabbatical 3, the seats referred to in clause 1 shall be allocated to political parties in proportion to the total number of seats won by candidates of the political parties at the general election. So the net effect of Article 90 is that political parties will give these lists to the Commission prior to the elections, and the seats will be allocated by the Commission after the election on a basis of proportional representation, depending on how many votes are garnered by the political parties in the then just ended election. Part 3 of Chapter 7 deals with political parties. Article 91, what are the basic requirements, constitutional requirements for political parties? 91, every political party shall A, have a national character as prescribed by an act of parliament. B, have a democratically elected governing body. C, promote and uphold national unity. D, abide by the democratic principles of good governance, promote and practice democracy through regular, fair, and free elections within the party. We may wish to reflect a little more on that and the practice or non-practice of it. How faithful have the political parties been to abiding by the democratic principles of good governance and promoting and practicing democracy through regular, fair, and free elections within the party. C, respect the will of all persons to participate in the political process, including minorities and marginalized groups. F, respect and promote human rights and fundamental freedoms and gender equality and equity. G, promote the objects and principles of this Constitution and the rule of law. And finally, H, subscribe to and observe the Code of Conduct for Political Parties, which will be provided by the IEBC. Sabbatical 2, a political party shall not A, be founded on a religious, linguistic, racial, ethnic, gender, or regional basis, or seek to engage in advocacy of hatred on such basis. Considering the nature and character of Kenya as a nation, this is an important provision. So one cannot form a political party which has a basis of a religious, racial, or gender, or ethnic character, because this would be inconsistent with Article 91 of the Constitution. B, remember we are saying what political parties shall not. B, engage in or encourage violence by or intimidation of members, supporters, opponents, or of any other person. C, establish or maintain a paramilitary force, militia, or similar organization. D, engage in bribery or other forms of corruption. Or C, except as provided under this chapter or by an act of parliament, accept or use public resources to promote its interests or its candidates in elections. Of course, under the Political Parties Act, there are monies that from the public coffers are given to political parties deliberately to enable them to promote their respective causes, and this would be an exception under this number E of what political parties should not do. The last Article 92 of Chapter 7 deals with legislation on political parties and requires Parliament to enact legislation to provide for reasonable and equitable allocation of airtime, state-owned and other specified by state-owned and other specified categories of broadcasting media to political parties, either generally or during election campaigns. B, a regulation of freedom to broadcast in order to ensure fair election campaigning. C, the regulation of political parties. D, the role and functions of political parties. E, the registration and supervision of political parties. F, the establishment and management of a political parties fund. G, the accounts and audit of political parties. H, restrictions on the use of public resources to promote the interests of political parties. And I, any other matters necessary for the management of political parties. All those, of course, are covered in legislation that has been passed by Parliament subsequent to the promulgation of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and in particular the Political Parties Act. So, in summary, that is the contents of Chapter 7 of the Constitution of Kenya, representation of the people. To end where I started, representation of the people was clearly a very important part of the Constitution for the framers of the Constitution, remembering that the people are the owners of this Constitution. The people have declared their sovereignty in Article 1 of the Constitution. The people have said that they will exercise that sovereignty either directly themselves or through their elected representatives. Because our system of governance and the architecture of our Constitution obviously points more to governance through elected representatives, it was and is important that the Constitution in this Chapter 7 clearly makes well laid out principles of what representation of the people entails, and that is why we have looked at this provision that relates to the people exercising their right to vote, how elections are to be conducted, who is to conduct these elections, under what principles and what guidelines, and what is expected to be upheld as the people exercise the right to choose their representatives. And that, I think, because in terms of our constitutional architecture, now as we move on to look at the various organs, institutions, and processes that are established by the Constitution, it's important that we will have understood the process by which the people pick these representatives, because in most cases that system or that exercise of the people's sovereignty will indeed be done through delegation to their elected representatives. So I thank you very much, and I look forward to our next session where we will look at other provisions in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Thank you.